Okay, we are live on Twitch.
Yay. Whoop. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. It's great to stay up late. Good morning. Good morning to you. Sorry, don't want to get copyright striked.
Too late.
Anyway. Um, yeah, how you doing?
Pretty good. Just sipping my coffee for the first time this morning. Feeling like
Oh
I'll need 2
yeah.
cups today, but that's
All right.
okay.
Speaking of coffee, Pryvit, everybody.
Bonjour. Don't look at my mug.
Hell
It's not Vienna Whyte.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Brew, Season 1, Episode 73.
Whoop, whoop.
Woo, 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 woo.
Good morning.
And I'm your host, Marissa Kay.
I am Millie Rouge.
And today we're structuring it a little bit differently. So
Mm-hmm.
normally we do an album review every single day. That is going to be still part of this video, but we're also going to be adding a couple of extra features
Yeah.
to this morning brew because it's the morning. We got some coffee. Naturally, we got to talk about things that are happening in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna talk about some news.
So as you can probably see down below, we have some topics we'll be chatting about today.
Mm-hmm.
Before we actually jump into them, I just kind of wanted to start off by asking how your day was and what is that your makeup? You said that you were gonna have your makeup. Did
Okay,
something happen?
you wanna know what's really funny? Okay,
Hmm.
sometimes I have these weird dreams that I think that they're real, but they're not, but
Yeah.
I think they're real. Anyway, I have set my alarm for 6 a.m. today because I wanted to get everything done before we sat down for
Ah,
our morning brew
gotcha.
today.
Yeah.
Because I know this took an hour to do my hair.
That's
My hair took a
crazy.
full hour to do
Why does
today
your hair take an hour? You have short hair.
because I took little pieces to curl all the little pieces because normally I take big
Like
chunks
this
and I just
big?
curl it. No, smaller than that.
What? Okay,
Yeah.
that's why it takes you an hour. Okay.
Yeah. But the reason is because I usually take big chunks and I just curl it and I'm like, whatever. But because we have the photo
Mm-hmm.
shoot today, I was like, I need to make sure I got tight curls so that way when they loosen, they look
Right.
normal. So right
Right.
now, this is not how they're going to look. um, but so I did my hair and I was like, okay. So anyway, I set my alarm for 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, I'm going to have everything done. And then my alarm went off and then I had this weird, like, kind of dreaming experience, but not dreaming. And I had this dream
Mm.
where it was like everything's canceled today. And then I was like, okay, I'll go back to bed. And like, and then I woke up at 7 or
Oh no.
7:30 and I was like, ah! like, and so like that's why I set 5 alarms. That's me. So I had another alarm set for 7:30. I was like, this is a just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So and
That's
anyway, so I did
hilarious.
that. So after we're finished with all that today,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put my face on.
Well, welcome everyone to my beauty channel today. Today I'm going to show you my look. I
Yes, I
tried
want to
really
see.
hard, but I feel like I struggled a lot because my liquid eyeliner dried out. But it kind of
Oh
works because
no.
the thing we're going for is kind of like, it's more of a smudgy
Like a smudged eyeliner
eyeshadow
kind of
look.
thing.
So I just use
Hmm.
brown and black eyeshadow. My eyes look really brown.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. Send me a photo of that.
Okay.
And then I'm going to try to recreate that.
Okay, it's really easy. All I did was I just did like brown eyeshadow and I just winged it out with like a small smudge brush.
Okay.
And then I just used
Perfect.
like golds. I tried to do whites at first and then I could barely see it, so I did a little bit more
Hmm.
golds. And then and
Okay.
then just a crap ton of highlighter because that's my
Yeah.
life.
Well, the other thing too was I was like, maybe it's kind of good that I didn't do my makeup this morning
Mm-hmm.
because then I could just copy what you
That's a
did.
really good idea.
So,
I would have thought
welcome
that.
to my eye look, everybody. Nothing.
You can see my
Um,
natural blend of my eyeshadow.
which is just foundation and primer. That's all I have on right now. That's all I have time
Nice.
for because then it was time to start.
At least you got
So
that far.
I got that far. But I look like fresh faced. I look like I woke up like this, but I did not wake up like this. There's still a lot of
Flawless.
effort put into this look today.
I
So
know,
anyway,
right? The natural look that really actually did take 2 hours to complete. The
exactly.
struggle
So
is real.
anyway,
So let's jump into our
let's
new
get into our topic.
segment.
New segment.
um,
News. Three, two, one,
news. Sorry,
news.
just quickly taking a photo of my eye. Don't mind me.
I'll do it later. It's fine. We don't have to
Okay.
do that right now.
All
Um,
right.
Anyway, so yeah, let's get into our first topic. What is our first topic of today, Millie?
So the first topic. Welcome to Vienna White News, 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 news. I'm Vienna White.
News,
I'm.
news, news, news,
I was,
news, news, news.
I was gonna say I'm Vienna White, your host, but that makes no sense. I'm Millie Rouge, your news reporter, and today's first story. I'm gonna stop that. Is Megan the Stallion, if you already know, has been shot. So there is
I
some.
did not know that.
You didn't know this, okay?
Well, I looked it up, but I don't know who she is.
Oh, she's the girl that sings "I'm savage, classy, bougie, ratchet,"
Oh, okay.
or she
See,
also
if you name
sings.
TikTok song, I'll know it.
Yeah.
So,
Or she also sings. Well, I think that's her only like really, really viral hit, but it's the one that got remixed with Beyonce. So she's a pretty big deal. So she is a fairly brand new rapper, and I don't know if she's brand new in the sense of like been doing music for a while, but brand new the fact that she's blown up in the past little
mhm.
while, of course, from the famous app TikTok. So it has been reported that she had been arrested on Sunday, July 12th, which is just this past weekend before this weekend, if that makes sense. So,
So last weekend,
yeah,
yeah.
last weekend.
Got
She'd
it.
been shot multiple times, and
Because she was in the
sorry.
car. She was in the car with another artist and another woman, right?
So there's kind of some speculations that came about it. People weren't really sure what exactly happened, so she actually took to Instagram to kind of set the narrative straight. She had gunshot wounds. There was a crime that was committed against her, and it was done with the intention to actually physically harm her. So this
Oh,
wasn't like an
geez.
accident or like, whoops, accidentally shot your face, which actually weirdly enough happens in weird places. Like, anyways, but she wasn't arrested. The police officers drove her to the hospital, and they removed the gunshot and the bullet, which is terrifying. She's of course expected to make a full recovery,
Oh,
but
that's
she
good.
really wanted to focus on clarifying what actually did happen.
Yeah, because that's
So,
like that's in like ah like that sounds
yeah,
terrifying.
people are assuming that it is. Well, they're making the assumptions. They don't know for sure yet that it was Tory Lanez, who is a rapper.
Hmm.
This is at 4:30 in the morning. Be it, just so you know, this is really, really early in the
Oh
morning
man.
slash late at night. They were apparently hanging out at a pool party on Saturday night at Kylie Jenner's house, which is interesting. Just weird how she kind of got tied into it.
Very strange.
But on Monday, Lanes posted his $35,000 bail and was released from jail, and he's scheduled to appear in court.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's not something that happens every day to people. So this is definitely hard to like relate to because
Hmm.
no one usually gets shot in the foot. But she did make a tweet that I wanted to mention that I think is important to talk about because she said Black women are so unprotected and we hold so many things in to protect the feelings of others without considering our own. It might be funny to y'all on the internet and just another messy topic for you to talk about, lol. But this is my real life and I'm real life hurt and traumatized.
That's putting it lightly, I'd say. I'm real life hurt. You got
Traumatized is the
shot.
word.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
man, that's oof. I'm glad she's okay.
Yeah.
That's because I mean, we've had a lot of celebrity deaths in the last
Yeah. Short
couple
while.
years, I'd say, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that she's okay and I'm glad that she's recovering and
Mm-hmm.
that she was able to speak about it. And
Yeah.
I don't know anything about her besides the TikTok song. But I'm glad she's doing good
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad she was able to like open up about it because
Mm-hmm.
that's a scary thing to happen to you.
Yeah, and I mean it's kind of a strange phenomenon, if you will, of like celebrities, and this kind of ties back into the Naya Rivera thing. I don't know if you heard much about that, but
Yeah. Oh, I know a
not
lot
really going
about
to talk
that.
about the
Yeah.
story. But I'm just want to talking about how people were like begging, like harassing celebrities to be like, you need to release something, you need to talk about it, and it's like
Yeah, and they were
these
saying
people
like
are
no one,
processing, like
well, yeah, no one, what did they say? They said no one is
owes
owed
you, yeah.
a performative display
Mm-hmm,
of
mm-hmm.
grief, which is very true. And some people that helps them,
Yeah,
some people it doesn't help them. I mean, our whole lives are online right now.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, it's very understandable to want to kind of take a step back from that. I mean, like I've thought about deleting Facebook at least 20 times over the amount of years that I've had it.
Yeah.
I can't. because music, but
Yep. And
yeah,
life.
so
Yep. Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
anyway, that's just kind of like the nature of our lives right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, you know, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But speaking of internet and our lives being on the internet, I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to get into our next topic here, which is about our girl,
Mm-hmm.
Brittany.
Brittany.
So, how much do you know about the hashtag Free Britney phenomenon?
Well, I've heard a lot actually. I've read a lot of information about people that say what her dad is currently doing to Britney Spears.
Yeah,
And then I've heard just a lot of like, I don't want to say the word like speculations, but just like people kind of being like, this is what exactly is happening, but we're not really sure. Like people are
no one
saying
knows.
she wore a yellow shirt and the day before people told her to wear a yellow shirt if she was being,
Yeah.
and it's like,
So for anyone who's like, what?
yeah.
Basically, this next story is just about Britney Spears and kind of how, I mean, everyone knows her infamous
Mm-hmm.
breakdown a couple years ago. I say a couple years ago, it was like
It was
10 years ago,
2007.
but 2007. Okay, sorry, I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, she was someone who was thrust into the spotlight at a young age and never left it, really.
Mm-hmm.
So she would be going through something.
Mm-hmm.
And so due to the couple of times where she went through temporary psychosis, she got put into a conservatorship.
Conservatorship? Yeah.
I think that's what it's called. Where
Conservatorship.
basically she has the rights of a 10-year-old being a 40-year-old. Like, she
Yeah.
can't choose who she gets married to. She can't have kids. She can't leave the house without
Yeah.
like permission. Her social media is heavily monitored. Like, she has very, very few rights.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are really worried about Britney because,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people are speculating that she's been put on a lot of drugs that are actually making her
Mm-hmm.
more unstable rather than actually helping her. And people are speculating about her father, saying how he's been controlling her life, and it's ethically wrong because it's been too much, and she just wants to have her own rights. She wants to be able to leave the house. And I mean, I've watched her TikToks, and it's not
They're a little
like,
bit alarming.
they are a little bit alarming. Like, when you look at her, because I remember the Britney that I grew up with. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she was my idol growing up.
Yeah.
And I remember like thinking she was so cool, and like I was like, I want to be her. I mean, I think every 90s girl wanted to be Britney Spears growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like, looking at her now, um, there are a couple things where I've been watching her and I'm like, it doesn't seem quite right.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, it has me worried, just as a person who adores her and who's loved her for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds really weird. I just meant as like an artist, not as like, oh, no one can have you. Like, I didn't mean it
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so there's a lot of speculation going around. No one really knows what's happening.
Right.
So it's hard to say, like, without all the facts, but
Mm-hmm.
I know for sure that she isn't happy about it. She's tried to get out of her
Yeah.
conservatorship. I can't remember the actual word for it. Conservatorship, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
She's been trying to get out of it for years.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, it's if I had to give my own personal opinion, I think that she probably shouldn't be under one. But I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't know her mental state. I'm not
Well,
a part of all that personal stuff.
it
So,
seems like that wasn't a choice. It seems more like it was like pushed onto.
mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how it works if people in conservatorships have to agree themselves to it because if you're mentally unwell, how can you,
Yeah, well, but see, that's the thing is like
you know?
with, oh, I guess, yeah, it's different with mental health. Like, but with conservatorships, those are usually for, older citizens who are senile or have
Mhm.
dementia or Alzheimer's, like, where they can't take care of themselves. Whereas
Mhm.
Brittany's a 40-year-old woman with a successful career,
Mhm.
and she can't leave the house without, because like, when you think about everything that she's gone through, like, she dealt with paparazzi in her face 24/7. Like I would have a breakdown and people were following me
Yeah.
around, taking pictures of me constantly,
Yeah.
following me to my house, driving behind me in my car, trying to make me like
Yeah.
the more I read about her breakdown in 2007, the more I understood.
Mhm.
Like I was like, to be fair, I was like, I'm surprised she didn't do anything worse because based on everything that I've seen that she's gone through,
Yeah.
I would not think anything less of her if she did something truly horrible
Yeah.
um because I honestly I can understand it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it would be right if she did it. I'm just saying that I would understand
Mhm.
why she would do it.
Yeah.
But like I think the worst thing she did was just hit a paparazzi guy with an umbrella and I was like that's really
Yeah.
minimal when you think about it.
Well, she hit the car, but people were saying like, like she used to do this thing at concerts where she'd speak in a British accent, like fully being serious, and people are like,
Hmm.
"You are not what?"
I didn't know that.
So yeah, and then like her father, I know, is in charge of the conservatorship, but he actually had to step down because just health reasons and
Hmm.
an illness he's going through, but. So it's tricky because there's the mom involved and people are like, oh, what about the mom? But she's divorced and she has no say in this.
Mm.
So, but then people were speculating like, oh, she's been liking some of the tweets that say like free Britney. So people are kind of like, because she's liking it, she's the only person that's close enough to tell us if this is
Yeah, but
legitimate. But
her social media is heavily monitored too. So
yeah.
it's hard to say. And I mean,
Well, and actually, I just want to quickly mention that Brittany
hmm
actually released a statement, if you will, like on Instagram. She said, I
hmm
get how some people might not like my posts or even understand them, but this is me being happy. This is me being authentic and as real as it gets. I want to inspire people to do the same and just be themselves without pleasing others. That's the key to happiness. But
hmm
again, like you said, if they are heavily monitored,
who knows if she even wrote that,
yeah.
you know? So again, like we can speculate as much as we want without
Mm-hmm.
having all the information. Like I think a lot of people are kind of really getting into the conspiracy theory
Yeah.
side of it. Which to be fair, I've watched a couple videos on it. I'm like, free Britney.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I don't know the whole situation that's going on. I don't know what goes on
Mm-hmm.
behind closed doors. I don't know what her doctor says. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
anything about it.
Yeah.
All I know is what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
And
And there's not
that's no way to
enough.
go about
Yeah.
news.
There's not enough information to confirm or kind of make legitimate speculation. So I'm
Hmm.
going to leave that story where it is because that's all I really know. And I just hope
Yeah.
the best. And I hope that things turn out for her and she eventually
Yeah.
gets to be with her kids because I know that seems like something she really
Yeah. And I hope for the sake
misses.
of her, I hope for the sake of her well-being that like, she
Hmm.
gets a little bit more freedoms, but that's just
Yeah.
my own personal opinion.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
it's tough.
I think it would help if more information came out and could kind of put all this speculation to rest. But
Well, and people are trying to raise funds currently to
hmm
help investigate this to see if this is a
hmm
legitimate, you know, thing. So if you're interested, if you want to find out more about that, check that out, and maybe that'll be the best way that you can support her for now. And like,
hmm
even if it turns out to be false, well, then at least you tried, gave your due diligence
at
to
least
the
we
biggest
tried.
pop star of the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much time we
Speaking
have
of big
left
pop
on,
stars,
yeah, on that. We are going to talk about somebody who is just a piece of work. Just a real piece of work. So I can't even like you got to take the beginning of this because he makes me so annoyed. I can't
so
not be mean.
Kanye announced that he was running for president.
I just want to say Marissa had the best video of all time.
Yo, Kanye, I'm gonna let you finish, but Obama was the best president of all time. Anyway, sorry. Um, I won't. Anyway, I'm not from the States. I can't say anything. Anyway, let's not get into that. But so Obama, not Obama.
Obama.
I wish. Kanye said that he was running for president, and honestly, like with everything that's going on now,
It's
Kanye
not
announcing that,
surprising.
I was like, you know what? This might as well happen. Like, of course, like it's 2020. Nothing surprises me anymore.
Nope.
Like dinosaurs could come back to life and I'd be like, yeah,
Seems
cool.
legit.
That's August.
Seems legit.
Like nothing surprises me anymore.
There's
Like
just a
everything is
T-Rex
just
outside of
happening.
your house. Yep, seems about right.
I'm just like, yeah, that's Dave. But anyway, yeah, so Kanye announced that
Uh,
he was running for president.
yes.
He released his platform and oh boy,
Let me just
uh
read one tidbit for you. Okay.
okay.
This is at his first campaign rally. It was in South Carolina Sunday evening. I'm just scrolling down here. He invited a couple of women onto his stage to speak about issues that concern them, which is what most presidents would do, to kind of
At
get
least
in
he brought
touch
women on stage to
with their
talk about
audience.
women's issues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he broke into tears. He's got some family past stories or issues, if you will. So,
Hmm.
I think his dad was definitely not present in his life. Um, and I mean, he's repaired this relationship, so this is not really the story. Um, he believes that abortion should be legal, that there should be more support for those who need it. Um, and he believes marijuana should be free. So he's got some values that are fairly, like, for most people, millennials at
Makes
least,
sense.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, that kind of tunes in. I'm just trying to find exactly where he said this. So just give me 2 seconds here. But the headline basically reads: "Everybody that has a baby gets $1 million," and I just
Okay. Cool.
so that's
That's
his
cool.
kind of idea of the
Yeah,
max.
he
Yeah, he said the
he
maximum
had a
increase would be everybody that has a baby gets $1 million or something in that range. He said,
yeah. It's
"Sir."
I mean he released a lot of other things on his platform and I don't remember all the
Mm-hmm.
talking points on his platform. Um, but I do know that a lot of the I know that he's super chummy with Trump, like
Yeah.
he wore a MAGA hat. So that did not instill a lot of confidence in a lot of people.
Yeah.
There was people all over TikTok saying, "Don't
Yeah.
vote for Kanye as a joke.
Yeah.
Don't vote for Kanye as
Yeah.
a joke."
Yeah.
And but I mean, like, I think we all had um, more respect for the states than that. Like the voters in the states, at least, like Gen Z, the young
Oh
generation, like we're
man.
like, we know you're not going to be stupid and vote for Kanye because you think it'll be funny. I know some of you
Mm-hmm.
will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so it's mind-boggling to me that celebrities can just like run for
Just
president just
decide.
'cause.
Yeah.
And but then recently it hasn't been super confirmed yet, but he is pulling out of the presidential
Yeah.
race.
Mm-hmm.
And he released a couple of tweets that were pertaining to that, a couple just random tweets that didn't pertain to that at all.
Mm.
And so a lot of people think that this was just a publicity stunt to promote his new music, which
Mm.
honestly, if that came
Probably.
out, I would also not be surprised.
Yeah.
Like I said, nothing surprises me anymore.
Especially with
Um,
him, I'm just like, mm-hmm.
yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
Kanye could say like I can fly and jump off a roof and fly, and I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Like I'd just be like, yeah, that makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, I've never been a huge fan of Kanye West. I've enjoyed his music, but I've never been a fan of him personally.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, it's a weird situation, and we're all going through a very strange situation,
Yeah.
and
I'm just happy it's turned out the way it's turned out. That's all I will say. I'm glad for it. Just you made the right choice. Just stick with it. Please don't try to go back in. Just be you, the
well, who
celebrity and
knows?
the
Kanye
artist that you are.
2024. Who knows? You know, who knows?
Yeah.
But sometimes I just want to wrap the states in a blanket, just be like, "You okay? Like,
They
are
are
you
not
good?"
okay. They are not good. They need some therapy, okay?
Yeah.
Y'all need some therapy.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I want to do that to Canada too, be like, "You okay?" But anyway, yeah, so that was the news.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully next day it'll be a little bit better news. We'll see what happens, keeping a close eye on
Yeah.
it. um Next we're going to be talking about action news. I'm kidding, we're not going to be talking about that. We're actually going to get to
Sports.
our today there were sports. That concludes our
That's
sports
all.
section.
Thank you for listening.
want to get that Philip DeFranco shirt that
Uh,
says sports on it so bad.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, that concludes our news segment of the
Mm-hmm.
day. We're going to get into our review of the day,
Whoop,
which
whoop.
I'm very excited to talk about. This is our album review, Monday's
Mm-hmm.
album review, one of 5 this week. And today we're going to be talking about Tatiana. Is it
Yes.
Tatiana or Tatiana? I'm never sure.
Well, she's
Um,
a London musician, so I'm gonna guess it's
mhm.
like Tatiana. That's what I'm gonna guess.
Tatiana.
I won't continue with a British accent because I'm not Britney Spears. But
Yeah, so Tatiana released an album called
mm-hmm.
Shadow on the Wall.
Yeah, I'll start this one off because I want to tell you a little bit more about the album because I was
Go for
very
it.
shook finding out all this information. She actually did a full EP review of each song, which I won't. I was like, maybe that'd be interesting to talk about, but that'd probably take the whole half hour. So, if
Yeah.
you're interested in reading that, go check it out because she describes a little bit more about this album.
Hmm.
And I also want to just quickly, let me see here if the command is working. That's not it. Okay, just kidding. I don't know if it's working. Anyhow, she actually wrote this album in her studio by herself. She was making beats late at night and obsessing over her feelings, which I could absolutely, totally sense that.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. She said that this album was basically a reflection of when she first started to understand her own sound, which I think that so many artists struggle with but don't talk about enough how difficult it is to hone in on one sound that you
Oh yeah.
and I mean lots of people experiment in different they dabble in kind of different genres to find who they are, but once you kind of find
It's
that one
hard.
that sits home, yeah, it's really nice to feel comfortable in that. So
Absolutely.
she said that this EP feels raw and heartfelt to her, and she thinks that's perhaps why she uses so much autotune on the vocals, which I have commented on in my notes here.
I also have commented on that.
She said, to give myself some distance, it came together very quickly, and most of the songs were written and produced in about a day or two, which is really cool.
Mm. Wow.
She cited James Blake, Grimes, and Kimbra as a significant influence, which definitely makes
Oh yeah.
sense.
I can hear the Kimbra. That's cool.
And she just likes having total control of the output and being able to create something
Hmm.
exactly how she hears it in her head, which I think a lot of artists value. And that's why I think with the age we're in of technology, everyone's starting to begin to slowly do their
Experiment.
own,
Hmm.
yeah, do their own recordings, do their own productions, do their own beats, kind of making on their own. Because for one, it's expensive as shiz. And for two, it's like if you can do it yourself,
Why not?
why not, right? Like, yes,
Yeah.
it's more work, but if you're willing to put it in, then why not?
Exactly.
So this album was released July 17th, 2020, and it features 5 tracks, so this actually is categorized under an EP.
Hmm.
So let's talk about the artist a little bit more.
Yeah. So Tatiana, she's been around the block. So she has lived many places: Holland, Russia, Singapore, Boston, and London. So I think as currently she's based out of London, but
Mm-hmm.
she's lived lots of places. She originally actually started off playing the piano
Mm.
and then moved to the harp, which is why her Instagram is called
Yes.
Blue Harp Girl.
Yes.
And one really cool thing about her that I enjoy is that she tries to kind of implement that in her music and like playing
Mm-hmm.
around with different sounds on the harp.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she's hailing from Russia, uh, well, Russian mother, English father. Classical music was where she kind of lived for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
And then she kind of started playing pop, jazz, and then kind of unlocking these different doors into this new genre that she's in.
Yeah.
Um, she first picked up the harp. She first picked up the harp when she was a child. When she was living in Moscow, she was at a conservatory there. She was 10 or 11 when they offered her an instrument other than the piano.
Mm-hmm.
So she had the choice between flute, the harp, or the trombone. So she came to this kind of a cool story. She came to this harp corridor. There was a tiny girl sitting on books, big books, because she couldn't reach the full harp. She said, I saw her and thought, oh my God, that's amazing. I want to do that. Which is like, that's an ambitious instrument
Yeah.
to jump into. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so she's lived kind of all around the world, which is really cool, making all these music or making all these types of music.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's just a little bit about her, and she's been doing that ever since.
Mm-hmm. I
Hmm.
also noted that she actually attended Berkeley College, which I think is very, very cool
Yes.
because I've actually spoken with on the roundtable segment. Um, there's so many people that have attended Berkeley College, and it's such a like world renowned place, and it's just cool to see how people kind of got to where they are today. So
Hmm.
I really I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I like that she has that
There
one
we go.
unique quality about her. She's a pop artist who plays the harp.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's
Mm-hmm.
so cool.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Very,
so if you
very
had to
cool.
ask her what makes you stand out, she'd be like,
Let me tell you. Let me
"Yeah,
tell you.
love it."
Absolutely. So let's chat about our first impressions of this album when we first hit play. What was kind of where was our mind at?
Yeah, so my first impression of this album, I was in the shower yesterday and I threw this album on while I was in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first impression of it, listening it to it in my bathroom was really cool because it was like all echoey. Um,
Very cool.
yeah, so my first impression was it was very like flowy,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very like ethereal sounding, very minimal. And
Mm-hmm.
my first impression was it was just kind of like super chill.
Yeah.
I didn't have any strong first impressions. I just like my biggest note was just like
Mm-hmm.
the vocals and the harmonies, really.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really hear much else on top of that. What about you?
You know what? That's interesting. I kind of had that same. I feel like that same kind of tone of a first impression because um, I got some like Charlie XCX vibes for sure.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that's more just because of her tone of voice, is why I kind of had that happen to me, if you will.
Hmm.
But I definitely knew I was in for an album I needed to process and be paying attention for. I knew I couldn't just like kind of, not that I don't want to say that I mindlessly listen to albums sometimes, but I knew I would. It's not something you can just play in the background and be like, oh yeah, like you have to be kind of in the zone, if you will, to appreciate and to understand this album. Because if you're not, then it's going to be very
Hmm.
like right away you'll lose interest, if you will, just because you have to. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
That's how I felt at least, but yeah, that was kind of my first impressions. And I found other than that, I didn't really have like nothing stuck out to me. Like I wasn't very nothing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like you said. Like I didn't. There was nothing else really stuck out to me right away. Nothing that I was like,
Yeah, it was like nothing was
whoa,
super obvious
yeah,
that stuck out.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that was my first impression. The things that I really liked on this album, there's quite a few things actually, but on the tracks and the album in general, I really liked the drum beats. I I over time got even more into them as the album went on. Like I was like, wow,
Hmm.
yeah, this like the drums on this album are really good, and I think really helped to kind of hone in on this album and bring it to what it is today. So I don't know
Hmm.
because I know she said she produced most of these songs, so I don't know if any of this is like live session players. Um, but yeah, I thought that was really well done, the drums themselves, whether that be
Hmm.
her or someone else. And I love the harmonies, of course, but I really like the echoey specific tone of the harmonies, how they're very floaty,
Hmm.
just like her kind of main tone of vocals. I thought it was just really tasteful, and I specifically liked it in the song Shadow on the Wall.
Hmm.
That's where I really, really enjoyed the harmonies. I like the use of the 80s style synth piano. I can't remember which song it was precisely, but it was very fitting to the overall theme of
I
the
was
album.
probably Over Again, I think is the one that you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed that. I always love a good like 80s synth piano tone because it's just like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, the only last thing I said on the reverb on the album was really well done. And I think
Hmm.
she kind of talked about this, but I think it really it was just it was intentional. So I really enjoyed it. And I thought she did a
Hmm.
good job of that for sure. So what are some things that you enjoyed on this album?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting that you brought up the reverb because I think
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy to overdo it
Mm-hmm.
with reverb.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah,
Sometimes it's
sorry,
too
I had to
much.
sneeze and then I went back into my nose.
That's okay.
Um, so yeah, I think that yeah, so she, like I said, it's very easy to overdo it with the reverb. So I enjoyed that she
Mm-hmm.
didn't overuse it. Like she used it very tastefully
Mm-hmm.
in this album. And also like I'm not a huge fan of what's the word I'm looking for? Auto tune.
Yeah.
Um, but I think with this album specifically, she used it in a very specific way. Like it wasn't a crutch. It was more of just like, I want to make this cool sound and I can only achieve this sound if I put auto tune on it.
Right.
So that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I also liked that the harmonies were also auto tune, and I liked how precise they moved
Mm-hmm.
together. Also on top of that, the like the vocals weren't placed in places that you normally would expect vocals to be placed.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rhythm was very kind of like backbeat, almost like very
Yeah.
like conversational, I guess, over top of everything, which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of cool. And for me that kind of made it more of an art pop album than an actual like straight pop album.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It was like more electronic art pop to me,
Yeah, I think
is
she
what it
did
seemed.
label it kind of as electropop for sure. And I definitely agree
Yeah.
with that though for sure that it's not like a lot of elements were really pop inspired and almost like it felt like there was like two different layers of this album. Like one layer was the vocals that were very pop and the melodies were super poppy, but then the instrumentation and the tracking was just like not at all, but it was cool. It was really cool. I enjoyed
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, so there's, and I mean the lyrical content was also minimal.
Mhm.
Um
Yes. Absolutely.
but I think just for me personally, I think why the lyrics weren't as prominent was because it was more focusing on the
Yeah.
sonic sound of everything,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And I mean, I honestly couldn't hear a lot of harp on this one, but I think it's maybe just because she
Mhm.
put a lot of
Mhm.
effects on it and it didn't sound like a harp to me. So
Yeah.
maybe listening to it again, I'd pick that up a little bit. And like
Mhm.
I've got it on in the background right now and I'm kind of listening to little bits and pieces. I'm like, okay, I think that was the harp there. But that's
Mhm.
kind of what I like about it is like, oh, I don't actually know what this sound is. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy listening to
Debunking
certain
it.
sounds and just kind of like speculating, like, I wonder how they made that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. So I think like those are some things that we enjoyed. Some things that I didn't really resonate with are things that
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish or had seen more in this album.
Mm-hmm.
The spacey vibes. This whole album is like a space trip, and
Mm-hmm.
it is the genre I think for sure that translate this. But sometimes it was just a bit too much of that for me. I think this is just my personal opinion. I don't think this is like a consensus of the album, but I think that sometimes it was just I was just like, okay, I understand. But this was kind of I want to mention that this is my initial kind of reaction to when I first listened. And what I actually experienced is the second time I listened through, I had a different experience completely.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think that has something to say because the first time I didn't enjoy it as much, but the second time was completely different for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was a different experience and I was like really happy that I had listened to it twice because um yeah, I just liked it a whole lot better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I also agree with that. I had a very similar experience.
Mhm.
I had a similar experience that that kind of worked similarly.
Mhm.
Listening to it the first time, I mean, I was also getting frustrated with my Spotify player because it kept playing the same song over and over again.
Oh.
So my frustrations were not with the album, it was with Spotify. And I was getting mad. I was like, I already heard this song. So I was getting a little upset.
Stop it.
So my initial feelings were frustration, but that wasn't because of the album.
Yeah.
Um, but um, but yeah, so the the reason why I think I got a better experience listening to it the second time was because I heard things that I didn't hear the first time around. Like I said, I put it on like just to get my first initial reaction. I try to play albums in a scenario that I would normally listen to music. So like I put it on when I'm in the shower or I'll put it on when I'm cooking or if I'm out on a walk with my dog or a bike ride or something,
Yeah.
like I'll try to put it on at a time that I normally listen to music or in my car.
Mhm.
So I can get that kind of like user experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, so on my first listen, I kind of had a similar experience where I was like, like it wasn't my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
But listening to it the second time, I got a lot more out of it, which is kind of cool.
Mhm.
And also listening to it in headphones is a different experience than listening to it on your
Yes. Or in the
speaker, on your Bluetooth
car,
speaker in the
Bluetooth.
bathroom.
It's all different.
Exactly.
Headphones. Different.
Yeah, so one thing that I wasn't sure if I really liked about the album was that I guess for me the lyrical content wasn't enough for me
Mm-hmm.
personally. Um
But do you
because I was
think
like if
that
I'm
if it had been busy, you would have enjoyed it? Because for me, the
Mhm.
instrumentation was busy. So I think if the lyrics had been busy, it would have been like, you know? Do you think that or
Yeah.
no?
No, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Because I see
Um
what you're saying. Because I even thought that I was
mhm.
like, these lyrics are pretty like repetitive. But then I was like, well, this is also pop. So it's like,
Yeah, well, and that's one thing I have to
you
keep
know?
reminding myself. I'm like, not everybody is a singer-songwriter. Um so anyway,
I can relate because I'm like I am not a singer songwriter. I'm trying to be one, but it's freaking
yeah.
hard.
Um
So
but yeah, but the lyrics that I did enjoy specifically, well, I can talk about a specific song
yeah,
later,
I have some favorites
but
too.
yeah, so in terms of something that I didn't really enjoy, that was mostly it,
Hmm.
but to your point, there was a lot of instrumentation going on, but I
Yeah.
think for me personally, I wanted a little bit more from uh just like more colors, I guess, because I it was like very
Hmm.
much the same colors throughout the whole album,
Yeah.
and I wanted a little bit more variation. And I got that in Shadow on the Wall for sure.
Absolutely.
I guess I just wanted a little bit more of like Shadow on the Wall
Hmm.
in other
In the
songs,
yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
And I actually forgot to mention I did mention the auto tune because and again, this is that first experience compared to the second experience because when I listened the first time, I was like, this is too much. Like this is just a little bit too much auto tune. And I just wanted to hear her voice. I just wanted to hear what she could do. But that I know could have been a stylistic choice. So I tried not to like let it dictate what I was thinking about the auto tune in the
Yeah.
album. But then when I actually read that the EP review, she intentionally was like, I love the auto tune. Like I think it's just when she was writing, she really wanted to emulate, like I said, like this raw sound. So that's why she used, like, what did I write down here? What I said at the beginning. Um, just a sec here. Perhaps that's why I use so much autotune on the vocals to give myself some distance because it felt very
Hmm.
raw and heartfelt. So maybe she was trying to kind of not dissociate from the music, but to kind of be like, that was a feeling and I want to emulate it even more. And how can I do that, right? Maybe that's with
Hmm.
more autotune or whatnot, right?
Yeah, I think that it definitely sounded intentional going with the
Mm-hmm.
auto tune, and sometimes I think that it can honestly show a little bit more musicality when they choose to do auto tune versus when they're like, I need it.
Yeah.
And
I
I can
need
tell that
it.
she doesn't need it, but
Yeah,
she wants it. So I think
exactly.
that's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, I initially, again, I didn't like the auto tune initially, but then listening to it more,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, especially specifically on I can't talk today.
It's okay.
Specifically on the song Oot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I liked the harmonies on "You Only Get One Life," that part,
Mm-hmm.
and it was
Mm-hmm.
like it was like this
Yeah.
like thick, bushy
Juicy.
thick.
Yeah.
And I don't know how else to describe it. It was just like this thick harmony, and I
Uh,
loved it. I love thick harmonies. That was
yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
That was like a highlight for me. It was like,
Yeah. I want to
yeah.
mention Arch is here and he
Oh, hi,
said, I
Arch.
was listening only. I love your hair, Marissa. I'll listen to the album today.
Oh, thank you. I worked really hard on it.
So, yeah, if you guys are joining in now, we are reviewing the album Shadow on the Wall by our girl TATYANA. So, let's chat about our favorite song. What was your favorite song?
For me, it was between Oot and Shadow on the Wall.
Hmm.
I liked them both for different reasons. Shadow on the Wall had a lot going on in it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it was like the title track, so it's
Right.
like obviously the best one.
Yeah.
Um, which is I guess is not true for every album, but for me personally, like I liked the Phil
Usually.
Collins drums in Shadow on the Wall. I was like, ooh, this is like in the air tonight. I like
Yes.
it.
Yes.
As soon as I heard those drums, I was like, I know those.
I know what you're
Um,
doing.
so that was like a little nostalgia factor for me.
Yeah.
And then Oot, like for the same reason I just mentioned, was that like those really cool harmonies on that chorus, the "You
Mm-hmm.
only get one life."
Yeah.
That one hit me pretty hard.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that was actually one of my lyrics I wrote down too, but my favorite song was Wild Card.
Mm,
But lyrics wise, not for this song, but in general, the album, I think it had a repetitive and simple lines, which I do appreciate and like in music. Just depending on how it's done. Sometimes it's really annoying, like in shake it off. It's just like, but this album, it was done very well. And I wrote, only one time, you got to make it right. Do everything you like, was one of the lyrics she wrote. So basically, just live life on your own terms, and it only happens once, like you're saying.
You
So
got to do your own thing on your own terms. Do you remember
exactly.
that
No.
from Raise Your Voice? Lizzie McGuire
Oh
says that, or
yes,
not. What's her
the
name? Hilary Duff.
boyfriend.
What was the? You got to do your own thing on your own terms. Anyway, sorry, that's not related to the album.
What did you have any favorite lyrics? Or you kind of mentioned, I know some of your faves already, but
Um, yeah, well, I think it was just that one album or that one lyrics that's been kind of really just that whole concept's been sitting with me for a long
mm-hmm,
time, that you only get one life thing.
mm-hmm,
With quarantine and everything that's going on in the world right now. Um, that kind of urgency of like you need to live your best life that you can right now. Um, and I'm gonna get a little bit deep, but that whole like the emphasis that was put on that lyric specifically,
mm-hmm.
because you could have just like sang it and it would have just been
Yeah,
whatever, but
floated by.
because there's so many harmonies and it was so focused, like that made me
Mm-hmm,
perk up, and that's what stuck with me.
mm-hmm.
Because when I was in the shower, the water's going and blah, blah, and then all I heard was you only get one life, and I was like ah.
Stop attacking me.
But like in a good way.
Yeah.
So I don't know why, just that one just stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think vocal wise, she had these really light, fluffy tones to her vocals, and it
Mm-hmm.
really dynamically brought her tone. Like sometimes she would be
Mm-hmm.
singing a phrase and she would just dynamically like
It's the
increase
shadow on the wall.
while
Yeah,
also
it's
just
cool.
like underneath it, it was just, I think it was just really layered. Like, and I think this album did a really good job of layering.
Mm-hmm.
So I really appreciate that with the vocals. I know you kind of mentioned her vocals already, but was there anything else you want to add about anything you
Um,
liked or enjoyed?
yeah, just in general, I enjoyed her phrasing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like even for Shadow on the Wall, the one that I just kind of sang, like I really enjoy that kind of behind the beat type singing where it's
Yeah.
like it's still in time, but it's just kind of behind it where it feels a little bit, I don't want to say lazy, but it's
Mm.
like it's the
Relaxed.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's very like Alessia Cara does this a lot too.
Hmm.
In her song Rooting for You. Do you know that song?
I think
It's
so.
like how does it go? I'm tired of taking second guesses. Da, 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 da. Like she does like this like it's,
Yeah.
and it's very similar with this song. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just the shadow of the like it's the beat is here and then she's like right behind it. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that was really neat, and I love it when artists do that well, and she does it well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I think instrumentation wise, there were some really repetitive loop beats, but I think that made this album really catchy and kind of stuck into my brain for
Mm-hmm.
sure. I honestly feel that the drum beats were my favorite part. Like I mentioned earlier, when it came down to it, I was like, yeah, this is probably like my favorite part is like the percussiveness of this album, and I just think it really tied it together nicely. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, I think that if I was gonna recommend this album to anybody, I would say if you're really into like electronic music, but
Mm-hmm.
you're not into like the dooch, 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 dooch,
Yeah.
this is a great album for that. If you
Mm-hmm.
want like a chill vibe,
Mm-hmm.
this is a good album to go for. I also think that it'd be like this randomly just like popped into my head, but I was like, if you're in one of those like sensory deprivation rooms
Mm.
and you're listening to this album, I think that'd be like the
Yes.
perfect way to listen to this album.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Just where you're just like floating in like
And just the
water
abyss.
that's like the same as your body temperature and
Yeah.
you're just like not feeling anything. You're just hearing this album. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah. It'd be trippy
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I said I'd recommend this album to any Gen Z or someone who just wants to vibe out their feelings, which clearly she did. So I think she wants people to experience that same kind of feeling. But
Hmm.
what did you think of the album artwork itself?
Ooh. I thought it was
Mm.
it reminded me like on first glance when I looked at it, she looked a little bit like Carly Rae Jepsen, but
Mm.
also that girl from the Hunger Games, not Katniss, but the girl who was like super angry. I forget her name. But it's just because I watched Hunger Games like last week. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, she reminded me of one of the tributes. But yeah, I thought that the artwork in general was really cool, like very
Mm-hmm.
like sparkly and like spacey, and I think it matches the tone of the album for sure. Also, huge fan of the makeup. Chudova, bravo, beautiful. Um, I don't know. I like blue, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
the whole album artwork is like all my favorite colors in one, so it
Yeah.
makes me very happy to look at.
Arch said, "Okay, ladies, I'm off to work. Did I say it correct? Thanks for the stream. Have a nice day. I'll let you know my thoughts on the album. I can't wait to hear your opinions."
Yay!
Yay. Have a great day at work. Yeah, I said I really loved the bright colors of the album. I loved how bright and like high exposure this photo is. I think it makes her look
Mhm.
beautiful and just really angelic. So, some colors that I
Yes,
noticed.
angelic is a good word.
Yeah, some colors that I interpreted in this album, which actually kind of I think relates to the album artwork, and I didn't intentionally do this, but I had some pink and lavender hues going on. So when I looked at
Mhm.
the album cover, I was like, that makes sense because that's kind of the color schemes I had like in my brain while listening to this album.
Mhm.
So I thought that was cool.
Do you remember in Windows 95 when you would hit the music player and like the music thing would pop up and it would be like this like moving image?
I think so, and it was
Do you
all
remember that?
weird,
Does
and
anyone remember that? Am I just weird?
I think I know what you mean.
But yeah, so I used to every time I would listen to music, I would always watch that thing. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I pictured when I was watching this
Yeah,
or when I was listening to this album, sorry. And a lot of the colors that I imagined were the ones that are similarly on the album artwork. Um,
that's cool.
I got a lot of like turquoise aqua
Yeah.
colors with some lavender in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, it just felt very like floaty and like I was like, yeah, I don't know how else to describe it, but
Yeah.
also like I think angelic is the perfect word to use for this album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's like I can't think of a more perfect word.
Yeah. Sums it all
Um,
up.
yeah.
Where I guess you kind of said where you'd listen to this album. I actually mentioned too that I'd listen to it like in a bath, low dim
Yeah.
candles. Even though I've said before, I think that's kind of a creepy thing to do. But
Hey,
well, not creepy. It's just I couldn't
don't
do it
judge me.
myself personally because I'm scared of the dark, not because I think it's
You got to
weird.
try it. You got to try it. It's great.
It'd be a good time. But in conclusion, this album actually really surprised me near the end. I definitely enjoyed it more, and the second time through. So just if you listen to the first time and have a hard time processing, just give it another go.
Give it another chance for
Yeah.
sure.
And I like
Yeah.
her creative twist to her pop songs. She takes it to another level. It's not just a basic pop song, it's definitely
Mhm.
on a different level. And I can tell she really cares about this album and she's proud of what came out of it. So I would give this album a letter grade of B.
Yeah, and I was going to give it a B minus.
Nice. That's
I really
awesome.
enjoyed it.
What are kind of your final thoughts and
Final thoughts.
conclusions?
Yeah, so final thoughts. Like you said before, um, I giving this album a second listen definitely improved it for me. And I think that if you need to, yeah, like kind of you said, if you need to just like be in your feelings for a bit and you just need to shut your brain off and just
Mm-hmm.
fill your head with music, this is the perfect album to just kind of fill that space.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in today to our album review of Shadow on the Wall by TATYANA. If you're interested in learning more about her, you can find her on Spotify. Or at least that's where I found her. So I hope you all have a happy Monday and a great day. My name is Millie Rouge.
And I'm Marissa Kay. If you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button to be notified when these videos come out. They come out Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. MDT. We go live on Twitch and we post to YouTube later. So if you want to check it out live, we'll be on Twitch live 10 a.m. MDT, Monday through Friday. We'll see you tomorrow for our next news segment / album review.
Woo! Bye bye, everybody.
Happy Monday, everyone.